Hello, everyone. Natalie here. Thank you for tuning in. Today, I'm going to be sharing actually a simple technique to teach to your child about their emotions and learning how to notice what's going on with them, and also being able to communicate that with you so that they can learn to regulate, they can learn to manage, and know that the earlier you establish it, because it is a work in progress, then as they grow and they have the capacity to regulate more and more and more, it gets easier and easier and easier. And this technique will help children. You can start as young as 2 years old all the way up into the teenage years. They can apply this technique that maybe you've already heard of, but this is what I'll be sharing with you. So first of all, let's talk about what are emotions. So emotions are just energy in motion, energy we feel in the body. This is the language of the body, and emotions are just chemical reaction that's happening in the body. It's visceral sensation, feeling from within. And when we feel the emotions, there's a need to express what we are feeling, and also to know that emotions are neither good or bad. We are the one who are labeling emotions, but there are no good or bad emotions. And when there's emotions, there's often a strong urge for us to react. So that's normal. And the emotions are just present to give us information about what is it what we're perceiving is happening in the present moment. Right? So this is really where we can differ from one person to another. This two people can be experiencing the same kind of event, and one is experiencing very strong emotions, and the other person is able to manage their emotions and it doesn't affect them. So we know that our perceptions of what is happening in our mind about the present moment is what's causing the chemical reaction for us to feel then either the intensity or the type of emotion we're experiencing. So the underlying meaning of bad emotions is there's a need for help, especially for our children, because children are born dysregulated. So when they're having strong emotions that we usually label as bad, but there's no good or bad, as I've just mentioned, it means that they're needing help. It is our role then as parents to help them with those emotions, because they were not born equipped to manage their emotions, just like they were not born to just out of the womb and then walking like other animals. Children need help with their emotions, and we as parents are in the role of caregiver to help them to make sense of their emotions, make sense of what's going on in the moment, and to give them some tools to help them regulate. And this is also a process. Like I mentioned, it just doesn't happen boom right away. It is a process. As they get older, then they can regulate more and more and more. But when they're younger, if they can start to communicate what they're feeling, that's a big win for us as parents, because then we know what's going on. Often our children just have tantrum. It seems like that, like they are just having a tantrum. They just went from 0 to 100 right away. They get aggressive, and we can't make sense of it, and then it becomes difficult because we're not able to help them in those moments. So indeed, emotions can seem big and overwhelming sometimes when our child is feeling hurt in a moment. And they have very little life experience to draw from as children when their feelings are running in their body. It's overloading their system. And often it feels like they're out of control, and they show it in their behavior. That's what we see. Right? So it seems like when they're experiencing that they are stuck in those moments and it will never end. That's the perception that often children have. If you have a reflection with them afterwards and ask them what that feel like when you were so scared, often they'll say, I didn't know what to do and I didn't know when it would end. And so this is what makes it so urgent for them to seek the help. And so that's why they react strongly, right? Big emotions tend to lead to big reactions. And these big reactions can be screaming, shouting, crying. All of these big reactions because those emotions that they're feeling in their bodies kind of overwhelming. So a child has a basic perception of what they're experiencing, right? So in a moment, they can see their friend or their sibling taking their toy, and boom, the basic assumption is that they don't care about me. So then the child feels hurt on the inside. And what's going to happen is because of that hurt, the child wants to project that hurt physically. Sometimes what we can see is they hit back or they'll bite and do these kind of things. And we're like dumbfounded, wow, you're doing this, right? But it's because they're feeling the hurt on the inside. So there are proven strategies to help your child through these rough moments. And consider these options you can offer as a parent. And this is what I'm going to offer to you. Then you can see for yourself if that's going to work for you or not. So where do we start then when it comes to teaching our kids to manage their emotions well? Baby steps, right? So there's no quick fix there. There's no quick learning. Every child learns differently. And also it depends on our own ability as parents to know if we know how to manage ourselves first, our emotions, to be able to teach it to our children. So from as young as 2 years old, kids can be taught how to correctly name their different emotions. And how do we do that? Is by modeling ourselves. When we get frustrated, we can start to model that by naming the emotions. We can say, I'm frustrated right now. I am upset. I'm angry. I am sad. So we start to label because our children are always watching us. And that's the quickest way of children to know, when mom is sad, she's quiet, she's maybe crying, and that means she's experiencing sadness. And then when they're experiencing sadness themselves, when they are crying because, again, maybe their sibling took their toys and they're perceiving that their sibling don't care about them or their friend don't care about them, then they are like, oh yeah, this is what mom means when she's sad. And so then they can put two and two together and say, this is what I'm experiencing. It's sadness. And also when they see us experiencing emotions and then we're like, oh, I feel better now. And maybe they did give us a hug and you say, thank you. I feel so much better now. When I was feeling the sadness, I feel it less in my body. And then they know, they like see us, okay, like that emotion doesn't last. It does go away. So when they're experiencing it as well, they'll learn with time that yes, it's not going to last forever. It's going to go away. So there is an emotion chart that I can send to you, not mine, but it's out there on the web, and it describes all the different emotions. And we have a wide range of emotions, but you can start with the basic ones with your child, start naming it. And when they are having a moment as well, when they're calm, you can reflect back on what is it that you were feeling? Were you angry? And your child may say, yes, yeah, I was really angry. And then you can ask them things like, oh, what did that feel like when you're angry? And that's what we're going to touch upon. But teaching our children to name their emotions by mirroring it to them, by reflecting it back to them when they've experienced some form of emotions is the start for them to learn how to put a name to what they're feeling in their body. And then from that simple foundation, our children can advance to the second step of building self-awareness. So emotions are felt in the body. It's not something that's cognitive that they can think of, right? They feel it in their bodies. So we need to help them to recognize what is it that they're feeling in their body and then to be able to name it, right? How to recognize when their feelings are becoming particularly intense or overwhelming so they can differentiate that. Again, this is a process. This will happen over time. For instance, notice for yourself, your child, when something is happening and it's getting too intense for them, what is their tendencies? Is it to walk away from the situation? Or do you hear them raise their voice? Or they start to whine? Or they become really quiet and they don't say anything? And you know that there's been a shift there in what they're feeling when they're doing certain behaviors, and you can see the tendency of how they handle conflict with their siblings, for instance, or with their friends. So you can get a sense of what is going on and also helping them to tell you about it, right? So you may say, I heard you increase your tone of voice. It got louder. What was happening? What were you feeling? Oh, I was getting more upset at my friend because I've asked them to do something and then they didn't do it. And then I keep saying it and they still didn't get it. And then we can say, oh, were you frustrated then when they didn't get it? And your child may say, yeah, I was getting more frustrated and I was getting more angry. And so they can put that kind of language slowly and gradually to what they're feeling on the inside. So kids must have that keen self-awareness to be able to reach now step number 3, where they have the emotional maturity to start putting the brakes on their emotions so that the emotion doesn't escalate, but it actually starts to de-escalate and it's not overwhelming their whole system. So over a child may feel like they want to yell or slam the doors or whatever it is that they have a tendency to do when they get overwhelmed with their emotions. They can learn ways to manage that, right? But with that, they need to be aware of the intensity of their emotions if it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and helping them to notice when it gets bigger, what does that feel like? Do you feel the urge to yell? Do you feel the urge to use force to hit? Or, one of my sons, when he gets really frustrated and he's maybe just playing video games, and I can hear him starts to slam the table, I know that it's starting to escalate at some level of frustration. And usually I would pause and go talk to him and say, do you notice what you're feeling right now and what you're doing? And he's like, yeah, I'm so frustrated with this game. I'm like, yeah, you're frustrated and I can hear that. do you think it's a good time to take a break from it and then to come back when you're more calm? Then you can enjoy playing. So these are the things that those 3 steps needs to be present. And we can build this awareness, and this is what is going to lead to the technique of the traffic light analogy. So Sherilyn Orr is an education consultant at a college in Edmonton, in Canada. And she has seen kids make really, really huge progress after teaching them and their caregivers, parents, that simple analogy of the traffic lights. And it's fun, it's easy to understand, using colors, just like the traffic lights have colors. This is what you can use for your children to think about their emotional state and to connect with using the traffic lights with what they're feeling on the inside. Because each color will give them a very helpful signal about what to do next. So let's start with red. We all know at the traffic light, when it's red, it means to stop, right? We need to stop. If we don't stop, what will happen is it's going to be a consequence that we don't like. So red means stop and to seek help to calm the feelings that a child is experiencing. So a child that can understand that strong emotions like fear or anger, we can teach them this is like a red light. When you're really angry or you're really scared, that's a red light. And what does the red light feel in your body, right? Because we need to relate the red with the feeling, because emotion is a feeling. So we can ask, when you are really scared, what does that feel like? And they may say, my heart starts to pound, breathing really fast, or it feels like I'm tense, right? So, or I feel like I want to scream or fight back. Or I don't say anything. I just don't do anything. Or another child may say, I want to run away. I don't want to stay there when I feel this. I need to run away. So then they're giving you then the information, and you're allowing them to notice what that feels like when you're really angry or you're really scared. And those sensations means that you're in the red zone when you want to run away, when you feel like you can't do anything and you just stay silent, when you feel like you want to scream or fight back, when you're feeling you can't breathe and your heart is beating so fast, that's the red zone. And when it's red, it's absolutely time to seek help. You need to come to me right away. And now that may be difficult for the child that usually goes into freeze mode. So that's when we get to the next slide. We have to, for instance, for a child that tends to freeze and not do anything, we need to help them to understand that when they are in yellow, that's the time to seek help right away. So yellow, you all know it, it's to slow down, to be careful of what is happening right now. So maybe there's something that a child is stressed about or is starting to get irritable about. It's as if their brain is sending their body a warning light that they are in danger to go into the red zone, right? And in the red zone, if they can prevent themselves from getting to the red zone, it's actually better than to find themselves in the red zone when it becomes like a more dire situation where they absolutely need help and they can't wait for the help. So again, we want to help our child to see what that feel when they hit yellow, when they are starting to get irritable, frustrated, tired. Tired is not an emotion, but children, even if it's not an emotion that's present, but physiologically, if they're tired, if they're hungry, thirsty, those might send them in that red zone as well. So the physical state of their bodies. So asking them, when you're tired, what does that feel like? When you're hungry, what does that feel like? When you're thirsty, what does that feel like? When you're worried, maybe they're starting to worry about something. Maybe they heard us parents talk about something and it rang a little bit of the alarm bell, but they don't understand and they're starting to worry now. And a lot of time children, they misinterpret what is going on in the moment. They're not able to interpret because, again, the brain is not fully developed like ours. So they may be putting the wrong meaning to things. So they get worried. And when they get worried, what is that like when you're starting to worry? What does that feel like when you are sad, frustrated, or when you feel misunderstood? Maybe you're playing with your friend and suddenly they feel misunderstood. Or maybe we are misunderstanding them often as parents. What does that feel like? Or when you're left out or ignored and hurt, right? So they can tell you what exactly they feel in their bodies. And that helps them to also know that, okay, when I'm sad and I don't feel like I want to talk to anybody right now, I'm in the yellow zone. And when I'm in the yellow zone, maybe I want to go talk to mom or dad or another caregiver to help me understand what is really going on and to clarify if, what I'm feeling, what that's all about, and not just what I'm perceiving. If they feel misunderstood by us, to be able to say that as well, or misunderstood by their friend, that they can come to us and share that with us. And that we are then going to be able to help them make sense of what's going on. So that's the yellow light. When it comes to the green light, green light means everything is going right. Continue doing whatever you want to do. And that's the best state to be in. And when the brain is giving the body the green light, when you're feeling happy, content, safe, you can focus. Children are able to problem solve, ready to learn. What does that feel like in your body as well? I'm happy, I'm smiling, I feel light, I'm excited. Where do you feel that? Oh, I feel, my heart feels open. I feel like I have lots of energy. I can play. So allowing a child to notice that, okay, that's the green light. That means everything is fine. You can keep doing what you're doing. When you get to the yellow zone, what does that feel like? And often in the yellow zone, if you need help, asking for the help that you're needing. Go to mom, dad, or another caregiver, teacher, and to help you with your worry, to help you if you're tired, hungry, thirsty, to help you if you're sad, or if you feel that others are not understanding you, or you felt left out or ignored because your friends are not playing with you. This is actually, I would say, the zone of if the child can come to us, that's the best scenario to help them make sense of things, because often when they can't make sense of things and they keep perceiving things the way that they can simplistically do as a child is when they will escalate and go into the red zone, where then it's an absolute must for them to seek our help. And if they can't seek our help and you'll see the behaviors, then you'll see the full blown out of emotions being expressed in an aggressive way, in a way that is not going to help them. Right? So this is the analogy of the traffic light. The concept is very simple. Our children can grasp that. They can recall, the traffic light, stop, caution if it's yellow, and green, go. That's easy for them to grasp. And helping them to move from yellow to green instead of moving from yellow to red. So very often, as parents, we wait until our children is really upset to start teaching the child how to manage their emotion, but that approach doesn't work, right? I think last week I explained that when a child is experiencing emotions and the emotions are overwhelming their system, especially when they've hit the red zone, that is not a time to reason. That is not a time to teach them anything. That is not a time to use words, lots of words, to calm them down, because they are out of control. Their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that can reason, that can regulate, is not activated in those moments. They've actually shut down. And so that's why the child becomes very irrational in a way. And as adults ourselves, if that happens to us and our emotional brain, our limbic brain is what's running the show, we can't reason, we can't logically think in those moments, we can't absorb any information that others are giving us in those moments. All right, so know that. And if your child is there, it's going to take your time. Maybe it can be as quick as 5 minutes, so it may be a little bit longer depending on how overwhelmed their system is with the emotions and how quick you can get them to feel safe again. Because until a child feels safe, then the nervous system is not going to calm down right away. They are in that parasympathetic system. Their nervous system is activated right then to protect them because they don't feel safe. So the child will take as long as they need for their system to feel safe to calm down. Just know that as a parent. So what should we do then if our child is in the flaming red, you might ask? Well, this is where prevention and education is required. Preparation and practice ahead of time with your child. So knowing that when a child is experiencing very, very strong emotions, the only way we can connect with them is through the senses. Either giving them the hug, making eye contact with them, using a calm tone of voice as well. You can use a few words, but not a lot of words, because again, the emotional brain will not register words. So if they let you give them a sense of touch, you can do so. make eye contact, allow them to feel your presence, using a calm tone of voice if you're saying anything, and just your own calm presence is what's going to help them feel safe and be reconnected with you if they felt disconnected. And then when they feel safe, we can help them to name and validate the feelings they had, right? So help them to make sense of what they were feeling physically. And that's when we can reflect on, okay, you were really angry. What did that feel like in your body when you were angry? So they can start to associate the feeling with the emotions and name the emotion. And this part can be also challenging for parents if you have not addressed your own emotions that comes up at times. So know that it will get easier for you as a parent if you've also done work around your own emotions and what triggers you. So as a parent, we often have to coach our children many times before there's a situation so that they can learn then how to manage their emotions eventually. And that will be into different ways of managing. At the beginning, maybe they can just run to us and tell us what's going on. And then they can get further by naming the emotion that they're feeling. And then they'll be able to catch what they're feeling when they're in the yellow zone rather than in the red zone, and come to us earlier and earlier. Right? So reminding them about the traffic light, the warning lights, the yellow light, moving from yellow to green rather to yellow to red. We need to emphasize that importance over and over again, to take time to calm down to green so you feel safe, and helping our child with that. Like, it has to be done often and consistently for our child to learn it, just like any other skill, right? So some things they can learn very easily, and some things might be a lot more challenging, and that's okay. So every child is different. Every child, like the calming strategy for our child might be different. We can use, again, touch to calm them down. We can teach them breathing techniques to calm down. We can just stay silent with some of them for them to calm down. Rub their back, their feet, whatever it takes. Rock them. It's soothing. We rock babies, so rocking our child will also help calm their nervous system, right? So a lot of the calming techniques would involve rhythm movement as well. Taking a child to go for just a walk, and it clears the energy because they're moving, right? So yeah, some of the calming strategies: rocking back and forth, giving a back rub, a foot rub, going for a walk, or just being by the side of your child, giving them a hug. Some children who likes to move, especially if they're really angry, and that anger needs to have an outlet. They can jog, they can skip, they can take a shower, they can use drumming, swinging on a hammock, jumping on a trampoline, shooting hoops. Or another child likes to just their own space, leave them alone. They can read, they can draw, listening to music. So every child is different, and it's our job as parents to tune into what helps our child de-escalate rather than escalate. Play may help. Maybe it's play with themselves, with their Legos, with their puzzles, their make-believe, and they get that space for themselves. So over time, with repetition and urging your child to learn to pause, to use some of the strategies to calm down or to come to us when they need the help, when they're in the yellow zone, the more they do that, the more easy it becomes and more natural it will become to both your child and for you. So this is what I wanted to share with you, this traffic light analogy and keeping the connection with our child when we sense that they are in either the red or the yellow zone. And this, our child then feels they're seen by us, they feel heard, they feel understood when they can tell us something and we get it, because essentially we're using the same language of the traffic lights to understand what our child is feeling, and that our child can use to communicate what they're feeling as well. And the greater goal of the stoplight approach is actually indeed to help a parent stay in control of their own emotions. Because at the end of the day, if we are not in control of our own emotions, it's not possible to help our children in those moments. So learning how to do that for ourselves, learning not to flip to a red zone and to go down to a green zone for ourselves is very, very important for us to do. And if we can do that, then most of the time we know that we can manage our own emotions and we feel confident to then teach that to our children or handle our child when they are in those moments of strong emotions. All right, so this is exactly what I wanted to share with you. If you have any questions, feel free to send them to me. I'll be happy to answer them. You can send me a private message, and yeah, let me know if you use this technique, how well it works for you, and maybe you've used it before, and what has been your experience and your child's experience. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and I will see you very soon.